All right, guys, we are live. Sorry about that. Can you hear me okay? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me all right. My wife called me at 6:14, so I had to take it. But it was my fault. I actually told her I was going to go live at 6:30, so she was trying to catch me before that. So anyway, my bad all the way around. It's Monday. It is Monday. Thank you for everyone for joining, guys. It's like 6:00 on a Monday, so I don't expect too many people in the chat. But I'm going to ride the chat as much as I can here. So this is more or less just me hanging out with you guys directly, as opposed to just kind of that daily video or the whatever 3, 4, 5 times a week video. I like doing these live streams. I want to do more of them for sure. All right, who do we have? Vadim, I hope that I'm saying that right. Vadim or Vadim, hola, amigo. All right, the Mets. Oh, that's right. You're in Spain. That's awesome. Collect Jacob deGrom baseball cards. Nice. How is the card market in Spain? It's funny. We have Spain, and then I know that AJ is in Japan. Just got to work. Morning from Japan. It's a global audience. Yeah, well, Brad, yeah. So it's always kind of the joke that I say I'm going to be on quarter till before we go on, 15 minutes early, and it always ends up being like 7 minutes early or before because of all the stuff I've got going on. Brad doesn't have any kids, so it makes it a little bit easier for him to make sure that he's on a little bit early. Appreciate that, AJ. That's right. Better late than never. Poland, man, we are covering the spectrum. How are things over in Poland, Michael? That actually makes me a little bit nervous. You're right kind of on the cusp. You're right there next to Ukraine, which makes me a little bit nervous. But I hope that you and yours are doing okay over there. Michael Ham, good to see you, buddy. I hope that you're at the National. I didn't get word yet that you're definitely going to that. I hope to see you there with the rest of the gang and anyone else that plans on being there. That's going to be a good time. Philly Joe, what's going on? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was kind of a cool find. That was something where my wife was like, hey, I want to do the silent auction thing to see what they've got going to support this particular charity. It was a 5K for brain cancer here in the Raleigh area. And it was funny because they had like Duke basketball tickets. They had a Mike Krzyzewski signed basketball. They had a bunch of different things. And we looked up the tickets and I was like, oh, you know what? I'd go to a Duke game. My wife went to UNC. So we're UNC people. We're not Duke people. But the tickets were like, it was 4 tickets and the bid was already at $800. And I was like, well, maybe they'll be cheaper since Coach K is retiring. Nope, they're not. And that was for a non-conference game. It wasn't like it was for like, a big time matchup. Nope, that was for a non-conference game at Duke. So the Duke basketball stadium, I think it only holds like 7,000 people. It's a lot smaller than UNC. So it's, there's less tickets to go around. No Birds waking me up at 4 a.m. Just got some new vintage 1950s football in and some card talk. Yeah, I just decided to throw this one together, Ryan. Thanks very much for joining. 1950s football, you can't beat that, man. That's really the ticket for me. That's the stuff that I'm looking more and more into. I'm actually kind of like recharging. I know I've been saying on the last couple of videos and live streams, I had to pay taxes, had to pay for dog training, had to pay for all this stuff. April every year is not exactly, it's always like expensive, And so here we are now. We're getting through it. I want to grade some cards. I want to get into some other things. But 50s football is definitely something that I am looking at. I am pumped about the draft, Mike. I am really, really pumped about what we did. Now, some of these guys, I know that I saw some draft grades where we got a C. People gave us C draft grades. Part of it is like, did we give up too much to not only get the 2 first-round picks, but then also to move up? Once I saw we were moving up, honestly, my heart sank because I thought we were doing it for a quarterback, and it's just not a good QB draft, or at least, it's not one of these like, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, where you've got 5 first-round prospects. And so I was like, oh my God, we're literally going to trade up for Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. And I was just like, no, we can't be doing this. We can't be doing this. I was actually really happy that we got a receiver, even though receivers can be hit or miss too. But our offense was anemic last year, especially once Jameis went down. No Michael Thomas, Jameis goes down. Alvin Kamara missed some games to injury. We had our defense was great and our offense was struggling. We also had Trevor Siemian playing, quarterback, just not good on offense. So I was really, really happy with the draft overall. Jeff Ireland's really good too. Our GM, or not our GM, but our head of player personnel, really, really good scouting team. And they always find these diamonds in the rough, these undrafted free agents. So I feel good about it, man. I feel good about it. And then we got the Honey Badger today. We got Matthew. We got the Honey Badger. So I'm really excited. He went to LSU, so he's coming back home. Time for a beer. That's right. I've got coffee and water. What's going on, Mervin? Oh, yeah. My wife lived in NYC for a while, so I know all about the big city traffic. Go Chiefs, solid draft class. You know what? The Chiefs had so many picks, but to be honest with you, and I don't know if you're saying solid draft class because of the Saints or because you feel like the Chiefs had a good draft class. I know they had a ton of picks, but I have no idea who they got. So let me know in the chat who you're excited about if you're excited about the Chiefs picks. Jenks, what's going on? Tyler, I think so. All I hear about is how terrible Jameis Winston is and how he threw for 30 interceptions 3 years ago. That's all I ever hear. But the guy is not so awful. He really isn't. Yes, does he make some dumb passes and dumb plays? Yeah. So does the majority of the QBs in the NFL, outside of a handful of them. But I mean, I think that he's good enough. He's just good enough. We don't need him to be Tom Brady. We just need him to not turn the ball over a lot. That's it. That's really it. You're trying to win Steve's giveaway. I hear you. I'm trying to win Steve's giveaway. I'm bunking with Steve for a couple of the nights, Friday and Saturday. And you're talking about the national. Mike's talking about the national here. So yeah, I hope you do win. I hope that you can be up there. That would be fun. I'm not going to be there for like 5 days. I'm going to drive up there. I'll be there Friday, Saturday. I'll probably drive back Sunday. I hope so, man. Yeah, it's a whole different ball game if they roll into Poland. I think that that. I mean, that's going to change that changes everything. Grading price drop should be soon. I agree with you. And I was going to ask you too in the chat, one of the things that I noticed just kind of looking on using data tools as far as volumes and also just looking at eBay, like what's selling and are there a lot of things selling in certain, areas. And I don't know, have you been seeing good selling volumes, or is just overall buying, selling down? I'd be kind of curious to hear what anybody in the chat, kind of what your thoughts are there. Honey Badger to the Saints. Yeah, that's one where, we lost Malcolm Jenkins and we lost Marcus Williams. We had a really good safeties on the back end. So those are huge losses. And so the fact that we got May from the Jets, who granted he's coming off injury, but he was a very good player for the Jets. And then we got the Honey Badger. That's a pretty big deal for Saints fans. Plus, he's a guy that every time he's a free agent, Saints fans are always like, "Oh man, we got to get the Honey Badger. He went to LSU. Come on home." And he never did, and he never does. Now he's finally coming home. I think we got him on a 2 or 3 year deal. So pretty exciting. And frankly, I think after 3 years, he's about to turn 30. He's going to be winding down his career. I mean, I don't think he's going to be the same guy at 33. I just don't. Usually kind of, you lose a step there, unless you're Rodney Harrison or somebody or Ed Reed. Yep. A strange draft. I know. The fact that anybody is trying to clown on Belichick, though, it's just kind of funny because I saw like the reaction that McVay had. The Rams coach McVay was laughing about their draft pick, and it's like, dude, act like you've been there. Like, I get you just won a Super Bowl and you're high on yourself. Belichick has won many, many Super Bowls. Okay, like he's not the guy to try to clown when you just got one. Great, I know you're young and blah blah blah, but you basically assembled the Avengers. Everybody came to LA to win a title, and it worked out for you. Yeah, if we're talking about Jameis Winston, just has to manage a game. That's really it. That is really it. He doesn't need to be magnificent. The one thing that Jameis does really well is something that we needed, frankly, the last 2 or 3 years when Breeze was playing quarterback for us, was the deep ball. Jameis throws a really accurate deep ball. Where he gets into trouble is where he throws some of his mid-range stuff and some of the, it's the 5 to 20 yard passes to where he's a little inaccurate, and that's where he throws picks. He doesn't really throw picks. Like what we want to do is have a power running game and then we want to throw, and then we want to catch him off guard with a 50-yard bomb downfield, and that's what Jameis does, and that's exactly what we need him to do. That's it. I agree. He's not amazing, but he doesn't have to be. He's overall he's a good QB. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like I'm just being realistic. He's not as bad as everyone makes him out to be. He had 30 touchdowns, 33 touchdowns, and 30 picks one year, the 30 for 30 year. He threw for 5,000 yards. They probably had him throwing too much. Arians probably should have ran the ball more, frankly. They had him throw too much, and that's what happens when you throw it a billion times. You're probably going to throw some picks. Who dat? Fat City Cards. Who dat? I will be in New Orleans this year for a game. No matter what, I will be there. I am going to New Orleans. Unless it's closed down or whatever and they're not playing football, I will be there, and I'm excited because I haven't been back to the Superdome since the pandemic started. So fired up for that. Raw vintage baseball and basketball is hyperinflated right now. Football still lagging. Yeah, that's where I kind of struggle with just, yes, I am still buying cards, but there's a part of me that just feels like, and I actually kind of look at the national. I'm very curious. So there's two shows coming up for me. I've got my local Raleigh show in North Carolina. That is June 18th, I think, kind of middle of summer. So it's in like 6 weeks. But I really want to see what prices look like at that Raleigh show here locally. And then you've got the national that's at the kind of coming to the end of summer, at the end of July. And I just want to see what it looks like when we get there, because I don't think there's going to be, and I know it's going to be like, oh, you're being bearish or whatever, but just with all the macroeconomic stuff that we talk about on the channel with interest rates, and I think there's going to be another interest rate hike between now and then, maybe a couple of them, who knows? That's not going to have a positive effect on prices. It's just going to tighten things up even more. And, so I want to see what all that looks like. And so I think those could be interesting opportunities. And I want to pay attention to pricing while I'm at those. Yeah, overall down. And it's not because there's not exciting things going on in the card world. I think that's where people get kind of bent, or they don't understand. They think like, oh, there's new businesses starting. There's a lot of exciting things, fanatics and different things going on that are exciting in the hobby. There can be a lot of exciting hobby things going on, and overall prices just aren't going up or even going down. It can depend on what time of year it is for a particular sport, but it can also be that there's something in the air. And I know that, again, this is like, we don't know when there's going to be any sort of recession, but there is so much talk of it that and also just it's reading the tea leaves. There's so much there showing historically that we're probably in line for some sort of recession coming. And it's not even just in cards that we talk about this. It's crypto, it's in stocks, it's all sorts of markets. So this isn't like just a card thing. 3 and 33, I thought. What are you referring to there, Michael? I missed it. Oh, is 3 years, 33 million, 18 million guaranteed. That's the number that we care about, in case the one thing about the Honey Badger, he gets injured too. I mean, he's had some injury woes, but you know what? We need him. He is beloved in Louisiana. It's a great signing regardless. It's fantastic. Yeah, he's kind of on the tail end of his career, so there's that, but he's a great locker room presence too for us. We need that leadership, so I'm really pumped. All right, Chiefs draft top to bottom, rookie starters 2022 at cornerback and right tackle. Karlaftis going to be solid at Sky Moore, is not Tyreek Hill, but plays a slot very well. Yeah, I have to assume Andy Reid really knows offense, and I have to assume that he probably picked up a couple nice pieces there. I'm sure that they're going to be just fine. I think the big question mark for the Chiefs is just how deep and how good that AFC West is. That's going to be the big question mark. Is did the Chiefs get better? Did they get a little worse? But then also, what are the Raiders doing? What are the Broncos doing? The Chargers? Like you've really got a lot of teams in that division that they all can compete, to win that division. Makes it really fun, but it's going to be a battle. It's going to be grueling. Belichick playing chess while McVay is playing fiddlesticks. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, McVay, I don't like his style. He's kind of like the small guy. He's cocky, and that's fine. And look, he just won a Super Bowl, so he has every right to be whatever he wants to be. But I like the fact that Belichick just destroys you and really doesn't have much to say about it. He expects it. It's not like, he's not fiery about it. He just does it. And I respect that. LOL. All right. I don't know what that was about, Brendan, but I assume it's because you're pumped for this Saints season coming up. Belichick needs to win a playoff game without Brady. Hey, now Belichick won without Brady. He won before Brady. He won with the Browns. He was running a good Browns team before he was basically run out of there. He was a good coach before he got to the Patriots. But you're right. Understandably, it's an understandable statement to say that without Tom Brady, there's no Bill Belichick. And I agree with that. They both kind of, it all went hand in hand. It was kind of a perfect storm that led to all of that. It's a couple of days. It's at the fairgrounds typically is where they do it. The one that I go to, I think it's the only one. There's a few North Carolina shows that are near here, but the Raleigh show is at the fairgrounds. I set up as a dealer locally at shows and the volume is pretty high. On eBay, if you have the lowest price sealed box, sells quick. Yeah, and I think that could be also just something that is really, it's like shows seem very busy. So maybe it's just there's just a ton of sales now at shows and less on selling platforms online, which is kind of ironic, because you think about it was the other way around. It was convenience of, I can just buy this online. I just order it. It comes to my doorstep. I don't have to go anywhere. And now it's kind of shifted away to where definitely more sales in person than there was. Now, obviously, we had a pandemic, so that there was no sales going on for a while. Now, all of a sudden, people can go to shows. I do also think people like the camaraderie of dealing in person, and then also just seeing people they know, building relationships with dealers, and the like. So I think that there's a compounding effect there. If Saints happen to crash and burn this year, they would be in great shape to get Bryce or CJ in the 2023 draft, 2 QBs whose rookie cards will be chased. I don't think we're going to be that bad to where we would be high enough. I think you're probably talking about top 5 picks. If these are, if these 2 QBs are legit and they're going to be hype, there's a lot of hype behind them. They're probably going to be in the top 5. I don't think we'll be that bad. If anything, it'll be like we're 8-8 or 9-8 now, I guess, and we'll have like the 15th pick, I think. But I think we'll, barring health, that's always a thing. The Saints last year were 9-8. That was our record, and we set an NFL record with 53 or 56 starters in the season. We started 53 different guys. It was in the 50s. Different guys. There was weeks where Sean Payton didn't even know the guys they're like, who's that? Oh, he's starting at whatever. Like, seriously, guys off the street that were coming in to start for us, and we finished with a winning record. It's insane. So I think that we're a little underrated. But again, there's a lot of parity in the NFL. You're right. The whole thing could go down the tubes. Thank you, Steven. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's getting to be a challenge to grab raw vintage on eBay because a lot of prices are unreasonable and inflated. I saw your comment too, Ryan, about the eBay authentication. Now, you're buying vintage stuff raw a lot of times. Well, I know it's most of the time because you're not big into grading. How do you, and I know I saw your comment where you're like, I'm not crazy about the authentication, but do you think it could save you in certain instances? Because you're buying vintage stuff where you have, more of a likelihood of a trim card or a fake card. I don't want to say more of a likelihood, but it's just with vintage, they've been around longer. A lot of times you get a little trim, and it's hard to tell. Whereas, with modern, ultra modern cards, it's less likely. But we saw Trey Lance rookie cards. What did anyone see that on IG? Trey Lance rookie cards, literally like a 1-year-old card trimmed, and it's in a PSA 10 holder. That's not good. That is not good. Phoenix Rising, what is going on? Good to see you. Good thing is big money keeps getting into the hobby, and 5 times more people in the hobby than 10 years ago. Yeah. And honestly, like with the pessimism or the negative thoughts, it's kind of more over the short term, over the short run. I think the hobby actually itself, if you look at all the new businesses and all the, the sentiment, I think it's actually in a really good place. It's more macro stuff. It's macroeconomic stuff that I'm worried about. So I'm kind of a short-term bear over the next 1 to 5 years, but long-term bullish on cards and different collectible categories for sure. As long as we keep printing money and buying oil elsewhere, strapping, it's going to be a bit. Yeah. Well, the problem is they've already printed too much money. That's already happened. And you're right. If they continue on, it's a problem. But Now the reversal is going to be, it's going to sting. It's going to sting a little bit. And we haven't really hit it. It hasn't really come yet, but we will see. We will see. KC draft is based on having Mahomes. Would they grade an A+ if Mariota was there? Yeah, that actually is a really good point. If you have a franchise QB, and not even just a franchise QB, but a top 3 QB in the NFL, I would say Mahomes is top 3 NFL QB, then you're going to get that. You're going to get kind of a, we've got quarterback covered, and he makes everybody better. So, you're all good. All right. Yes. Yep. I think they were actually 10-6 or 11-5, but yeah, they had a winning season, went to the playoffs with Castle. Yep. And Castle never did anything once he left there. I don't remember anyway. The one thing that Belichick did was he built top 5 defenses. That's the part that is always overlooked. I saw a stat, and it was comparing Tom Brady and Drew Brees. And you could probably make the same argument maybe for like an Aaron Rodgers, but I didn't see like numbers, but it was ridiculous. It was basically Tom Brady had a top 10 defense or top 5 defense like 15 out of his 20 years in New England. And they were the number one, they had a first round bye. They won their division, like every year for 20 years, like all these things lined up. But the big thing is that Brady had a top five defense, top 10 defense. But then also, to Brady's credit, he took less money than everybody else. Drew Brees was making top dollars and earn what you can, but Tom Brady was making 12, 15 million a year when everybody else was making 30. That makes a big difference when you're trying to field a team and put, you're building a team. It makes it a lot easier for the Patriots to build a stout defense and build a great team. Well, what was funny is they built the defense, didn't really give Brady a lot of offense other than Randy Moss. So you could go back and forth kind of with these things, they really work together on it. People getting wiser in the hobby. Look at all the no bids on eBay. The pandemic buyers, flippers are getting out and investing in other things. Yeah. And also too, it's not even just in cards. You're seeing crypto is way down. And just today too, I was actually looking at it, if you're looking at buyers and, the flippers in crypto, where are they? I don't see them. I know the stock market has been down. Equities have been down. I can't really speak to real estate flipping, but I really don't know. I think there's just kind of a shortage in supply there that's driving up those prices. But you also have large companies like Blackstone that own 1 out of every 5 or 6 residential houses in the country, in the U.S. That makes a difference. If they're kind of the whales that have the supply off the market. What if they put all their supply on the market? It changes the pricing dramatically in real estate. So anyways, a lot of moving parts. I won't get too, I would try not to get off on a tangent too much. Our shows have been trading more than buying. Okay. Yeah. And have people just been kind of continuously trying to trade up, or have you been seeing trading down or trading like one for the other, Trout for Jordan or whatever, is the stuff that's, somewhat equal. So people are going to argue Trout for Jordan. What are you talking about? Because some people they don't like Mike Trout or whatever. I don't know. What would be a good example? Babe Ruth for Michael Jordan or whatever. Mickey Mantle for Michael Jordan. You understand the question. Is it like, one for one, or is it trying to trade a bunch of stuff to get up, or trading one thing to get down? Did you see the Between Two Slabs guys flipped a Star Wars card they bought for a few bucks for around $18K? Oh, you must be talking about Between Two Ferns. That's Merlin cards and the Great Curator. No, I didn't see that one. I didn't watch it. That's the thing with oddball cards, and I think that's why a lot of people have been buying these oddball cards. One of my hobby friends, Flipping Steve, he always buys oddball stuff, but he has been for years. He's been buying that stuff. But it's one of those things where there might never be any demand for it, but if there ever is any sort of demand for it, there's not a lot of supply. So if it's a music card or a movie card or whatever it is, Marvel cards, we saw that happen. That's why that happened. That oddball stuff has been going bonkers lately. But I think in part because people are kind of bored. It seems like people are bored of, buying, selling basketball cards or baseball cards. So they're like, what are these kind of other, these non-sports or these other sports? It's interesting. Don't forget, Belichick orchestrated that Giants defense that shut down the high-flying Bills in the Super Bowl way back. Yep, I watched the game. I actually can think I can envision it. I was at my buddy's. His name was Mike. I was at his house, and I covered my eyes when the Bills kicked that field goal, and it went wide right. I think it was the one that they missed to the right. I'm trying to remember the name of the Bills kicker, but they missed it. They lost it right at the end. And I was actually pulling for the Bills because it was Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly and those guys. And they went to four straight Super Bowls and lost all of them. Nothing against the Giants, but yeah, you're right. Belichick was already a great defensive coach way before he got to the Patriots. Happy hour, why not, right? Have you gotten into the ticket craze? It's taken off a bit in the last few months. I have not. I think tickets are cool. I do understand why people like them. And I especially like the historical ones. Then, of course, you've got signed ones. So I understand the collectability of them. So I think that they are really cool. I have not bought any tickets, though. Too many other areas that I've been focused on, but not to say that I never will. I was actually on eBay. I was looking for a Super Bowl ticket from 2009. The Saints won their Super Bowl in 2009. And so I was looking for maybe if there was like a Super Bowl ticket that was signed by either Breeze or Marcus Colston or Sean Payton or somebody. That would be something that personally would be cool to own, but don't have any tickets yet. Oh, you must be talking about that live stream. I don't think Tua is really investable, but I may buy a few nice cards and flip when they have a couple good games. His prices are pretty low. Yeah. And now he's got the ultimate weapon, Tyreek Hill. So yeah, I mean, it's like all eyes on Tua. I haven't checked any of his pricing, but yeah, if it hasn't moved any, I could totally understand that. I mean, look, the Dolphins could come out of nowhere and Tua all of a sudden it just clicks for him. And Tyreek's there. They've got Armstead from the Saints. If he's healthy, they're starting left tackle. They actually could be pretty good. Recession will happen. I don't care. We'll be staying the course and buy what I know well. 50s and 60s baseball and football, 70s basketball. Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing now is there's so many different options, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if there's a recession that card prices go down to, it's not like they go down 90% or something from where they are today. They might stay where they are now. We just don't know. It doesn't mean even if there is a recession, people assume that everyone's just dumping all their cards. They might not be. They might just put them away and not sell any. And then just, they might sell some, they might not sell any. Like nobody really knows what that impact would look like. So, it's something where pricing could come down some, but might not. Sean Payton to the Cowboys. Ron Fig, hope you're well. I remember meeting Ron Fig at the National last year in Chicago. Yeah, and I think that might be part of the reason why the Saints went ahead and traded around their picks next year is because they're assuming that Sean Payton eventually is going to want to coach again and that they can maybe trade off his rights to the Cowboys and get a first-round pick back or whatever, get some draft capital back. Speculating there, but I've heard a lot of talk about that. I've also gotten some nice color Herbert and Burrow optic prism stuff lately at nice prices, Discord and My Slabs. Yeah. Those are guys that they just kind of look like the future of the league. And it's wild. There's so much good young QB talent. I always say that, but it's really true. And even this QB draft, the people are saying like, oh, let's pick it, like there's no good QBs in this draft, but there's probably going to be one or two of them that will be a good starter, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes for sure. U.S. government and Panini should be friends. They both love to print. That's right. Print. Defense wins championship. Certainly doesn't hurt. It does not hurt. That's for sure. Unless you just have an unbelievable offense, but it's got to be next level, unstoppable offense to make up for a bad defense. But you're right. Usually you have to have a rock solid D. Yeah, Brady is still taking less. Yeah, all these guys making $40 million a year in these new QB contracts, and Brady's taking $15 million or something. Maybe he's making 20 now or 25. I know it's gone up a little bit. Fun fact, no team has won the Super Bowl when their QB makes more than 13% of the cap. I did not know that. That's an amazing stat, Michael. I'm glad that you put that in there because I did not know that to be a thing. But it makes complete sense. And that's why, and I guess that's part of the reason why teams reach on QBs in the draft because, you've got 4 years on the rookie deal, and then you've got a 5th year option. So you really have 5 years of cheap quarterback play before it goes absolutely bonkers. Yeah, trading up 3 cards for 1. Interesting. And there's a lot of people that are speculating the other way where it's like, oh, these lower end cards are going to come back. There's these, you got all these slabs and dollar bins or $5 a slab or $10 slabs that'll, not to say the $5 slab is going to go to 50, but maybe the $5 slab turns into a $15 or $20 slab. I think it can work the other way too. Just kind of depends. Don't mention Matt Castle's name on this live stream again, makes me cringe. I study and research. This is Ryan. I study and research specific sets, cards for trimming, stock, and printing issues, and take notes on these cards. I bet you do. I know that you're highly, highly detailed. When you know what to look for, it's harder to get fooled. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm trying to trade up into a Brady Bowman Chrome by the end of the year. That's my card goal for the year. Very cool. Do you have a certain grade that you're looking at, or is it raw, or how are you looking? Are you looking for a specific number there? Liquid when trading down. Seeing the same thing in my local shows. Some dealers are looking to trade up when talking to them. Oddball cards are the spice of the hobby. Yeah. And it is true. You can find stuff that's the thing is that there's diamonds in the rough there, random oddball things. You look at, there's certain sets that were never popular that become popular. It's a kind of a phenomenon within the hobby, which is kind of fun. Yeah, basketball cards are awesome. And there's a lot of options between, you have modern, ultra modern, and the guys playing now, but you also got a lot of really cool vintage options as well. Yep, Scott Norwood. That's who the kicker was for the Bills. Ray Finkel. The kicker's name was Bill Shank. Don't recommend tickets. Do you guys think that is just kind of an overheated thing? Tickets? I mean, I'm sure the people that have been, dealing tickets are like, holy smokes. Now, if they've always had them, now they're selling for huge multiples of where they were. I'm sure the people selling them are like, whoa. So you think tickets got staying power, or is it just kind of more of a fad? What do you guys think? I don't know how I feel about it, because I understand the collectability. I think there's really, really cool tickets. Do I think that every ticket is going to be important or people are going to care about it? No, but it's no different than cards. How many cards do people care about out of all the cards that are printed, how many are really cared about? How many are important in the hobby from a collectability standpoint? A very small percentage. And I'm not even talking about cards that are just worth money, but just collected in general. Players that are, that fall by the wayside. You might have a player that you collect that's very popular that is no longer playing in the league, and he's gone. He's gone. He's off the map. So yeah, it's interesting. 76 Game 6 Carlton Fisk ticket from the Red Sox World Series 1. Oh, that's really, really cool. Yeah, that's really neat. Mike McDaniels will fix Tua and the Dolphins. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, small market. Well, it's small in the sense that you don't have a lot of stuff graded. That's also the other part of that too. And that's the same with any of these things, Marvel cards, F1 cards, oddball cards. Not much has been graded. Even if they printed a lot of it, not much has been graded. So it's kind of an interesting dance there, because there could eventually be a lot of those things graded if they were printed a lot and they become popular, and then everyone sends them in to get graded, and so that's something that I think is going to be very interesting to watch. Recession. Okay, people need to stop spending for a recession. Same people screaming recession is coming are the same ones that listen to social media and CNN the virus is bad. Fake news. I don't know if that's the same thing, though. I hear you electric ways about fake news and overreactions, and especially the mainstream media is just a pile of garbage. But yeah, but I think those are two different things. I think that, and here's part of the problem is a lot of people don't really believe that recession is possible because we haven't had one in a very long time. We haven't, and a lot of people haven't lived through one. I was 29, 30 in 2008, 2009, when things really hit the fan, 2009. And then in the financial world, it really kind of carried through 2010. I mean, it took a while for it to really kind of, get back to something sort of normal. So yeah, it wasn't the end of the world, but it was pretty serious. And that was 13 years ago now. I mean, a lot of people have never lived through anything. As a Vikings fan, Cousin makes way too much. Cousins. Yeah, you know what? I was in the end zone 2 or 3 years ago when the Vikings beat the Saints on a last-second pass to their tight end. I'm drawing a blank on the name. In the back of the end zone, I was sitting in the end zone watching it all happen. Now, the Vikings had outplayed the Saints completely, and this wasn't the Minnesota Miracle. This was after that. This was like 2 years ago. And the Vikings had just outplayed the Saints the entire game. Zimmer was coach. They had a really, really good game plan. Saints kind of made it a game at the end. And then Cousins threw that winning touchdown to win that playoff game. I think it was divisional play. Maybe it was wild card, but either way, it was depressing. Minnesota Miracle. And then that is like, man, the Saints' recent playoff woes have been devastating. Echo what Ryan said about buying raw on eBay. Tougher to find reasonable prices lately. Hey, Joe from Colorado Springs. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it. Michael, that's some great family history, so maybe you should send it in just to protect it. That's the thing about, yeah, just for protection. That makes sense. Yeah, Michael's like, it's a, it's really awesome family thing, and then he grades a 10. He's like, all right, I'm selling to the highest bidder. Grandfather was also in the Navy with Don Larson, was at his perfect game in the World Series as well. 2 best. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Sam Moulter, don't recommend selling at auction on eBay. Yeah, do you think the selling platforms are spread a little bit too thin between, PWCC weeklies, you got eBay, you have all these different selling platforms, Golden, everything that's out there. There's probably going to be more coming. What do you guys think of that? Tickets look to be a fad. I guess we'll have to see. I also haven't seen if tickets have tickets had a price reduction, meaning like, I know that they got, price discovery and all that. Have they come back down though? Has there been kind of a dip on tickets? I haven't been paying attention to it. Authenticated autograph tickets would sound more like it. Buffalo 66 was a movie kind of about the Bills. Very funny. Anyone else up the early 90s? Mike Coffer, kicker for the Niners. Oh, man, you're way out there. I don't know what you're talking about, Drew. Montana, Elway, and Marino rookies, all underrated, man. Yeah. I mean, I remember, and there's such a drastic price difference between the 10 and the 9. Like the 9, and I haven't checked the price on those lately, but I remember they're kind of like, for Elway Marino, it's like a $300 card in a PSA 9, and then it's a $3,000 card for a PSA 10 because there's such a huge drop off on the pop between a 9 and a 10. Tickets can be easily faked. Had not heard of that. I haven't been paying attention to know that. It's interesting. NHL game use patches underrated. Okay. I think hockey in general is I feel like that's always the conversation. Is like, when are hockey cards going to really, outside of like Wayne Gretzky stuff and kind of the obvious things of Ovechkin? Yeah. I stick to my older graded cards. Niche markets are not my thing. Great work. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Kyle Rudolph. Dang it. Dang you, Kyle Rudolph. Yep, that was him. But again, we didn't play well enough to win. The Saints played pretty bad and then they tried to get back in the game and then lost it in the last drive. So is what it is. I remember Mike Kofer. You guys are talking about who the heck is Mike Kofer? The year for the Bills. I feel bad for Bills fans because that game against, and I know there's Chiefs fans listening, that game was over against the Chiefs. They had won that game, and then Mahomes did Mahomes things. Man, unbelievable. The Bills, I mean, the future is bright for the Bills, though. The thing is, though, they've got a window with Diggs. Like, they've really got to take advantage with Josh Allen, with Diggs. They've got a good defense. Like, they've really got to strike while the iron is hot. Did Josh Allen already sign a mega contract? This is something I haven't been following. Because, again, that's another guy that's going to get $30, $35, $40 million a year. It's going to happen. Mike, baseball collector, good to see you. Yep, we will see you in Atlantic City. I look forward to it. Oh, well, they did. Kenny Pickens, Sam. Steelers need to replace Roethlisberger. He's gone. He's retired. Now it's the Kenny Pickens show, or maybe Mason Rudolph, or Trubisky, or one of these other guys. Yeah, I feel like because of the football gods, I'm assuming you're saying it haunts you. You're a Vikings fan. I think the Minnesota Miracle and the last playoff game I watched in person where Rudolph scored the game winner, I think it was almost like a football god's reaction to us winning against Favre in that NFC Championship game. Maybe. I mean, it's, maybe it is. Do you have any vintage basketball in your collection? Historically, recessions haven't really affected the hobby like the 94 player strike did. Hobby went down over 40% during that time. Yeah, and I'm more talking about, I guess, Ryan, here's the thing is like when we talk about the hobby historically it hasn't affected prices, but that's not really taking into account, though, the absolute price spikes that happened during the pandemic. Like if we think about the pricing movement from 2019 to 2021 March, that movement upward was higher than it ever was, as far as I know, unless I'm missing something. Maybe even, junk wax era, when I was a kid, yeah, I mean, like, Ken Griffey Jr. 89 Upper Deck was a $50 card at your card shop, and that's way overpriced, obviously, by today's standards because print runs and everything else. But it wasn't like Mickey Mantles were selling for the equivalent in 1990 based on inflation, the price of the dollar, all that, as they were in 2021. Like that was a absolute insane spike that we had over that 2-year span. And so now, yeah, you've seen pricing come back down. Vintage hasn't. So vintage has come down a little bit, but kind of steadied, differently than how ultra modern has sunk. But it went up so high that, yes, it's come down, but I just feel like it's kind of like apples and oranges. I hear you about 94 players strike, was really like almost like the economy hasn't had a big effect. But I feel like this is kind of a black swan event where you had a massive spike. And what I'm worried about could happen is that you have macroeconomic stuff that kind of does the same thing the other way. Might not ever happen. Might never happen. Who knows? And who knows time frames and all that. And I'm not, saying that it will, but that's just kind of, I'm more conservative, and that's what I worry about. Little tangent there. Sorry about that, buddy. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay, Brandon? Yeah, it might be I'm on a Mac. I'm just on my laptop. I should probably stick a microphone or something in here or figure something out, but yeah. All right. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it. Speaking of oddball, this year I've started purchasing non-sports tobacco cards from 100 years ago. Some huge names at a small price. Yeah, I mean, I bought, as an example for oddball cards, I bought Abraham Lincoln cards that are from 1880, and they were literally 30. I bought 2 cards. One was $30 raw. One was $40 raw. Now, I don't know what those cards look like. So could they be fake or altered, trimmed? Could they, maybe, I mean, that's a 140-year-old card. So it could be that I bought a raw card that's not legit for $30. But if it is legit, holy cow, 140-year-old card of one of the goats, the goats of presidency in the US. So I think that stuff is really, really cool. And also you find all sorts of diamonds in the rough out there, stuff that you've never heard of and that nobody's ever heard of, stuff that just pops out from an estate sale or whatever. It's fun. Tickets never really grade high, especially from that era. Doesn't matter. That's a great piece to have. Who else thinks Monsters of the Gridiron cards are awesome? Throw it in the chat. I've been searching eBay, but am having trouble finding a starting quarterback for my Seahawks. Baker Mayfield, still out there. Just saying. I sell cards raw every week. I get in hobby box breaks and auctions have went from 30% off comps to 47%. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it just depends on what you're buying too, Sam. What types of stuff are you talking about? Is that all new stuff? Older graded cards, tickets never caught my eye. Definitely a niche market for sure. Since December 2020. Oh, you're selling raw cards every week. Okay, so you get into hobby break, you get into breaks. Okay, I got you. Crypto selling platform. Are you really? Let us know what it is. We can keep a lookout for it. Poor man's investing. I like that. Where will Baker go XFL? I am so intrigued. So Baker Mayfield cards are ones that I'm paying attention to just because there's nothing positive coming out on this guy at all. It's just like he has a bad attitude. He's not gonna start anywhere. He's gonna be a backup. Like there's just nothing good coming out, and I'm waiting to see kind of what happens with his stuff, because I'm not sold on the fact that this guy is a terrible quarterback like a lot of people think. I think he's all right. I think that he can rebound. It just depends on where he goes and stuff. So I'm watching intently if those Baker Mayfield cards go down to a crazy low amount. If there's National Treasures patch autos for $50, I'm a buyer. I didn't realize that Mike Kofer was going to dominate the chat like this. Thumbs up. Listen to Sam, please. Thumbs up. One second, guys. Okay. Oh, did I lose my? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Josh Allen he has a huge contract. It's $10 billion over 6. So I couldn't remember if did he sign like his second contract, his extension. 80s cards rookies are getting tougher in a high grade. Yeah. I think in part because they're so abundant, like that Dan Marino, John Elway set, that 84 top set, great set, pretty iconic set for football, frankly, with all the Hall of Famers in it. You got Howie Long and you've got Eric Dickerson. You've got all sorts of Hall of Fame rookie cards in that 84 Topps football set, but it was printed. They printed it. They're abundant. You can find them. And so it's kind of like with a lot of those, it's not junk wax era because it's 84, but it's still in that, they printed the heck out of it time frame in the 80s. So it does fall. It's not junk wax like 1990 print levels, but it's still, they still printed that stuff. So I guess, to find it in pristine condition is going to be pricey. It's going to be pricey. Dolphins plus or minus 9 wins. I think that they will. I'm going to predict 9 wins. 9 and 7. 9 and 8. Excuse me. Now there's 17 games. Packers fan, that 09 NFC Championship was the greatest interception Favre ever threw. Yep. Tracy Porter, Favre threw it across his body, which he's done. He's done it a million times. People don't remember. I was a massive Favre fan when I was a kid. Favre, Sterling Sharp, and that gang. I rooted for the Packers because the Saints were never a playoff team. So, when the Packers were up against Dallas, I wanted Favre and the Packers to win. But Favre threw a lot of picks, and he had some pretty bad seasons, just frankly, where he threw a lot of picks, and that gets kind of like wiped away. Because he was just such an Iron Man and so beloved, in Green Bay before obviously he started going to the Jets and the Vikings and all that stuff. Joe Montana was a placeholder for Ray before Max. Interesting. You guys are getting in deep on that 49ers place kicker Joe Montana conspiracy theory. I'm glad we avoided strike in baseball this year. Manfred is so bad. Yeah, I'm not really a baseball fan, so it's just kind of like, meh, which I know is probably, blasphemous to the baseball fans in the chat, but I just can't get into modern baseball. I remember watching the McGuire, Sammy Sosa home run derby, where they were going back and forth. That was exciting. Frankly, I know this is going to be probably a take that nobody wants to hear that likes to watch baseball. I almost just would rather them allow PEDs in baseball and just let them go at it and let them figure it out. And the reason why is because I think a lot of these guys are going to do it anyway. They're going to try to get away with it. We don't know which teams are doing it, which teams are not, which players on these teams are or not. So it's kind of like, why not just let them go? Why not? Why not just let them go ahead and take PEDs and see what happens? I know what they'll say that, oh, well, no, I guess, for player safety, it's funny because you talk about, player safety in the NFL. They don't test for HGH though, which is interesting because HGH obviously would be a PED, of some sort. It's just weird. They test for some things, not others. I don't know. I don't get it. I almost feel like let them go ahead and they're going to do it behind your back anyway. Just have them do it. Montana 49ers most dominant team in NFL history. Yeah, I remember. My Saints were in the same division as them in the 80s and hung with them a lot in the late 80s especially. But yeah, they were good for sure. Denver has a big card show scheduled in late August. Come out to the Mile High City. That would be fun. I've been to Denver a few times. It's a fun place. Brian Adams took a break from singing, and he is in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Patriots dynasty. Yeah, Patriots are all-time. Justin Herbert is still on a rookie deal. Chargers have a 2-year window to load up while their stud QB is cheap. Pretty much, because once these guys get paid, just really changes. And honestly, that's why everyone's like, oh, Jameis Winston. Well, he's on a 2-year, $25 million contract. He makes $12 million a year. Sounds good to me. If he can just play average to above average football, fine. Been getting into building sets of basketball, hockey stuff, soccer, and football from 88 and back. That is cool. Very, very cool. A lot of the sets that I own are, I've got a set of 88 Fleer basketball. I've got 86 Tops football with the Jerry Rice rookie. Those were, and Bruce Smith rookie, a bunch of cool stuff. So I like that you can get 80 sets for inexpensive. If you're a set collector, raw sets, very inexpensively. Mac Jones should get an Apple scholarship or a McDonald's. Yeah, the year the 49ers added Dion, they had loaded that team with so many players. Yeah, Ken Norton. Yep, Richard Dent. Yeah, that 49ers team. Charles Haley, I think, was on that 49ers team. Charles Haley was also really, really dominant for the Cowboys and for the Niners. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln. That's a Zag, right? Abe Lincoln cards. I've got a few of them. Mike Hofer, we're still talking about him. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, I've seen that being kicked around. Like, would you rather draft one of these, QBs in the first or get Baker Mayfield? And it's kind of like, just get Baker Mayfield. I don't understand why that would even be. You're just running a risk on. There's so many of these guys that were good prospects coming up, QB prospects that are not playing. There's a bunch of them. Everything, all sports, non-sports, from hobby breaks on 34 sites. Wow. Oh, okay. Year or two for the crypto platform. Interesting. Professional break sniper. Okay. I think the bigger issue, Ryan, with this is, and especially the unprecedented part, was the reaction to the pandemic, where they printed trillions of dollars. So the last pandemic was in 1918 to 1921, is what you're saying. I'm pretty sure that the government did not print money. Now, granted, understandably that the value of the dollar back then different from today. Even if you take inflation into account, I would bet, and I haven't done this research, that they did not react in the same fashion in 1920 by printing a ton of money. And I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. Let me know in the chat if you find out that I'm wrong there. My main point is that's what we've gotten accustomed to. Modern politics is printing money. Stimulus is now the reaction to, bad things happening, or what we perceive as, pain on our citizens. And it's simply driven by people just trying to get elected, reelected. That's all it is. We're just on these cycles, and it's hurting us. It's hurting us, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. I sold Mayfield last summer. He was trending up. Glad I did. He was leading up to, and actually he was a big talking point at the National, going into the National last year. Baker was, because if you looked at that Browns team, they were loaded, and Baker was, a lot of excitement around Baker. That's what's so wild about the NFL, man. Just, it can change in an instant. It can change so quickly. This dude is literally a starting quarterback on a playoff team, and now he might be a backup, somewhere, might not play at all this coming season. It's so weird. Oh, I don't know if I agree with this. Sober Manziel. I think he's a better player than Manziel. I have to disagree. But to each their own. You're entitled to your opinion for sure. Yep, Scott Norwood. Scott Norwood with the shank. Although, to be frank, I don't put any, people are like, oh, can't believe you missed it. It's a Super Bowl. My leg would be trembling so hard. I would miss that kick 100% of the time. I mean, think about the pressure. What do you know about pressure? I doubt Dolphins get 9 wins. They have been cursed. They have been recently. You're right. And also just the the way it's run and everything, not great. But they've really been throwing money around. They've been trying to make it happen. Curious, why is the all-time record holder in assists and steals? It's not even close. His best rookie 88 Fleer is on eBay for $599. Am I missing something? Are we talking about Stockton? All-time record holder in assists? I assume we're talking about John Stockton here. Well, what grade is it? Is it a PSA 10? Was there a Michael Jordan baseball player in 95, or was that MJ the basketball player? Bills win out. Dustin, do you have a college football team you root for, or just NFL and the Saints? I also pull for the Florida Gators. And the reason why I do is because I spent a lot of time growing up in Tallahassee, where everyone, well, actually, I shouldn't say everyone. There's a lot of Gators fans in Tallahassee, believe it or not. But everyone was maniacal about the Florida State Seminoles. And so I had to pull for the other team. I had to pull for the Gators. And frankly, so this is going back to the Bobby Bowden, Steve Spurrier rivalry. I just like the Gators offense. They had the kind of that run and shoot, run and gun offense. Spurrier was just exciting. Whereas Bobby Bowden he was kind of more like the Nick Saban led Alabama teams where they just have more talent than you. They have just out recruited you. They have all the 5-star prospects. Whereas the Gators, yes, they had a bunch of good recruiting and they also had great players. But I just liked the creativity with Spurrier's offense. So, and I like that he would talk smack, whereas Bobby Bowden was more, clean cut, wouldn't say anything bad, about the other team. Whereas, Steve Spurrier would talk trash. So I don't know. I like the Florida Gators. Sadly, now all those teams aren't any good anymore. You look at Florida State football, Gator, it's all a shell of itself. I hope it comes back. Luca and the Mavs, can they get past Phoenix? I think that they can get past Phoenix. I just don't know if they will. And the Warriors, man, that was a huge game against the Grizzlies yesterday. Last second win. I watched that with my son yesterday. That was an amazing game. Came down to Ja Morant with a little flip layup thing. Just didn't make it, but almost did. And the Warriors steal game one in Memphis. That's a huge deal. The Warriors just kind of seem like they're on the warpath, and they're really deep. Between just Steph and Clay, which frankly they didn't even really shoot that well, but their nucleus. Draymond got thrown out in the second quarter. I mean, all the things went wrong. I think Clay shot 5 for 13 or something. He couldn't hit anything. But they just have a lot of guys that can contribute. So we'll see. This is a true statement. Yep, that is right. HGA increases rapidly after 16 hours of fasting. What he's talking about is natural. Naturally in your body, it does. All right. I never really comment on these slap happy because it's who knows as far as, is it a buy right now? I don't know. I mean, in a week, they might be cheaper. In a week, they might be more expensive. It's nobody really knows. So I never really comment on the buy right now, but I'll just say in general, he's a player that I'm interested in. I'm watching his stuff to see if it bottoms out, see if it goes way, way down, and then, maybe take some shots on a few cards. Am I buying a ton of, Baker cards? No, I'm not going to put loads of money in it, but I think it'd be kind of fun to speculate on it. Hold on one second. My computer is beeping at me. All right. Yeah, Warriors looking strong. Picked up the 81 ticket stub NBC Championship game, also known as the catch. Yeah, I know you meant catch there. Ticket stubs to hold value, they have to have historical significance. And that's what I mean. Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of tickets that are being touted. It's tickets are hot, and it's a random game or random playoff win or whatever. And I agree, that's a huge game. That's a huge game where a ticket stub would matter, long term. That makes sense to me. All right. Do you think in 100 years people will look back and be perplexed as to why performance-enhancing drugs were banned, as if they wanted our athletes to be slower, weaker? Maybe. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. And I'm not saying it's, it's like I don't mind there being some sort of controls in place for player safety's sake. But the thing is teams are always going to look for an edge. You look in baseball and it's stealing signs, or it's, in all these professional sports, it's PEDs. There's always going to be players that are trying to get an edge. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, I don't know. I don't really. I mean, you might be right. I mean, maybe or maybe not. I don't know. It's kind of like you're trying to regulate something that you're not going to fully stop it. So I don't know. Herbert, Allen, Mahomes won't come close to the careers of Montana and Brady. Just saying, something to think about. And part of the problem is that they're all so good too. So they're all like only one can win a title every year. Only one can win an MVP every year, and they're probably all going to have similar stats. Right? They're probably going to have similar passing yards. They're probably going to have similar touchdowns. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. It's never been harder in the NFL to have a dynasty, to win 3 Super Bowls or 5 Super Bowls. It's part of the reason why I've bought a lot of Tom Brady cards, because I don't think that it's ever going to happen again in the same way, unless there's drastic changes to the league. I don't think that it's going to happen where a guy can win 7 titles. I just don't see it. And Grant, I could be wrong, but I just think the talent gap is too tight. And there's, and then not even that talent gap. All the injuries that can happen in the NFL, the salary cap that plays into it. So many different factors. I just don't see it happening again. I think you're right, Bob. We can make some money in the meantime and then put it on Brady. Yeah, I don't know. Well, and people are, it's buy the goats. Well, Tom Brady cards are not cheap. They're really not cheap at all. But man, if there is some sort of a dip, recession, whatever, and Tom Brady card prices are affected, I'm sure I'm probably not the only one that'll be looking at Tom Brady cards. Baker should just take the summer off, wait for an injury to jump on with a contender, which very well might happen. I think he's going to. He's going to be on another team. I don't think that the Browns are going to hold on to him. I think before the trade deadline, there will be something done. If it doesn't happen sooner than that, I think he'll definitely be moved, because I don't think it's going to necessarily be a positive thing to have him in the locker room. Think about how awkward that would be. And he's already gone out to the media and said basically like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy how this happened. I was injured last year. I was promised something. They didn't keep their promise. He's already a distraction. We haven't even got into training camp yet. So where the sticking point is now is the Browns are trying to get the maximum trade value that they can. And of course, teams are like, we'll hold out because you're cutting this guy. Like, he's not going to be on your roster. So we'll hold out until you're ready to make a deal. And I'm sure teams are at an impasse because of that. 1930s, we still had manufacturing and silver-backed currency. Yeah, there's a lot has changed. A lot has changed. No more gold standard. That's right. It's different times now. Not too long before the 1918 pandemic, the U.S. had a smaller military than Serbia. Government literally had to get a loan from J.P. Morgan. I remember I saw a documentary on, I think it might have been a documentary about J.P. Morgan, and that's exactly right. Yep. The Rockefellers and the J.P. Morgans of the world were funding a lot of stuff for the government. All right, I don't know what you guys are talking about there. Roosevelt changed the gold price from $20 an ounce to $35. They didn't even double during that time. 80% of supply has been printed since 2020. Crazy difference. Very, very different. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It might be nothing. It might never happen. There might never be a recession. Maybe they'll be able to figure out a way around it. But there's too many people that are a lot smarter than me that are showing a lot of data to support some sort of recession of some kind. We don't know how long it'll be, et cetera, but it's hard to ignore it. Okay. Too bad they didn't have Adam Vinatieri, the greatest kicker since Pele. I think running backs and wide receivers will pop this season. Lots of value there. That'll be interesting to watch, because that's something that with football cards, we've been talking about that for the last couple of years. There's been a lot of talk of now's the year for running backs and wide receivers to really get going from a price standpoint as far as value goes. I think it would be cool if it did happen. Of course, in the NFL, you have so many injuries, and that's what I think hampers it. But there's so many vintage football running backs and wide receiver options that are, I mean, from a price perspective, if you're comparing them to vintage baseball, vintage basketball, it's not even close. So that's where I've been spending a lot of attention. Martin Gramatica. I remember that guy. He played at Florida State. He was like, he never missed a kick at Florida State or something. And then, or was that his brother? Was Martin the Gramatica the guy that like got hurt from celebrating after a kick or something like that? Because he always would go ballistic when he made a kick, but then he actually like tore an ACL or an Achilles or something. If Herbert doesn't take his team deeper in the playoffs, does he start becoming Rivers 2.0? He's too young. He's too young to be Rivers 2.0. Great stats and no team success. Maybe in like 8 or 9 years, but not yet. He's too young. He's just getting started. So we just don't know. Perfect time to be alive here in the Yay area. Stockton is dirt cheap. The guy still drives a minivan. Yeah. John Stockton, the all-time assist leader. And he was on that 92 Dream Team. Yeah, frat boy. Yeah, all of a sudden super cocky. Can't wait to reflect on his career versus Belichick. He really is. He's just annoying. And he's just very canned. And I understand that all coaches are canned in the press conferences and stuff, but he's very kind of like, I don't know. I know he was a talented football player when he played. He's a talented coach. So we're not taking anything away from the guy. He's a talented guy, but just his overall demeanor and everything is just kind of like blah. Like I'm not cheering for the guy. So that's why Jeff likes you. Oh, because of the Gators thing. Yeah. And I've never actually even talked to him about that connection, but yeah, the whole Gators connection. But yeah, I've been rooting for the Gators for a long time, since the Spurrier days. Zappy, 4th round QB. You never know, man. Tom Brady's 6th round pick. You never know. PSA 10, Stockton. I didn't realize it was at $5.99. I actually looked at that card in a PSA 10. Mama Don't Know Hobby Collector. I love that name. And it was like $900, and it was just like, man, that seems high. $5.99 is starting to get to a point where it's like, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with the case or something I'm missing? That does seem like it's a little bit low. In the Bills, 30 by 30, the reception early received by Scott Norwood after the miss was the best part. Oh, yeah. It just stinks. Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. I've got a call coming in on my phone. 1 second. Hey, I'm on a live stream. Okay. All right. I'm on a live stream. All right. I'll be done in about 20 minutes. All right. Bye. Sorry about that, friends. Can Luca carry the Mavs against the Suns? We'll have to see. I want to watch it. It's must-watch TV. But these are the types of things that, these young players, whether we're talking about Booker, Ayton, we're talking about Luca, you saw it last year. Giannis got over the hump. Giannis has got a title. It would be awesome to see Luca get a title. It'd be awesome to see Booker get a title, or Ayton. Any of these young guys, Jason Tatum, these young guys are up and coming. I mean, in 5 years, these guys rule the league. They already kind of do. They're kind of tweeners. You still have the Kevin Durant's, the LeBron James, and then you got these guys that are rising. And it's going to be fun to watch kind of this next stage of NBA. Yeah, great defense on that drive. Yeah, you're right. So we were watching it. John Morant took a bad angle. Well, in part because he was kind of forced outside, because you're right. Curry played him well, and then it was just an awkward shot. But Morant makes those shots. He was just a little bit strong on that shot. Yeah, those close games, refs are going to play a part. Yeah. HGH, believe it or not, Inglorious, it is already natural in your body. HGH is something that's already occurring. But yeah, we were kind of having a discussion about just, someone had asked in the chat, PEDs, take them, don't take them. Should they regulate it? Should they not regulate it? And I was just saying that in baseball, the most baseball I had watched was Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run, derby, where they were going back and forth. And that was a fun time in baseball, and they were on PEDs. So, I don't know. Are you a Morton Anderson fan? And is that why you hate so much on Mike Kofor? I'm a huge Morton Anderson fan. Are you kidding me? He's a legend in New Orleans. Absolute legend, except for he played for the Falcons, which I'm not crazy about. But yeah, I'm a big Morton Anderson fan. LHS had me send a Brady 101 from 2020 score for pack damage, and I did almost 2 years now. Any thoughts what to do? Get a white box, go to Nash. Oh, man, chat's going to have to help with that. Chat. Tickets are interesting since they don't print them anymore. Yeah, true. That's a good point. And how many survived and how many were thrown away and all that. So, yeah, there's a lot of new collectible categories like that where they're popping up. It's like how many were kept in good condition and all that stuff. All right, guys, I've got to jump off in the next 5 to 10 minutes, but I'm going to try to run through this chat as quickly as I can. We don't have too much to go here, so let me just see if I can do this quickly without getting off on a tangent. Apologies. I've been trying to do a good job of staying on top of the chat, answering everybody. I'm just going straight down the line. That's how I'm going to do these because I've gotten good feedback with that format. Am I the only one that thinks Bill Russell and Cream are undervalued when you look at the prices for these guys are never going to even come close to having those types of careers? Well, yeah. I mean, if you're looking at kind of how much is being spent even on just, we talk about like Justin Herbert, great example. He's got some wildly expensive cards. He's got cards that are way more expensive than Bill Russell and Cream rookie cards. So totally different eras and different, stuff. I mean, but you're right. It's actually a very good point. It's the argument for vintage, because what if Herbert has a 4-year career and he's done? What if something happens? Who knows? He decides, I'm not going to play football anymore. Andrew Luck, who knows? So yeah, no, it's those are all interesting hobby conversations, and they're as old as time. Watch the documentary. It's on YouTube. Dang it, I wish I knew the name of it, but it was done in 1990. It's a documentary. It's on YouTube, and it's someone's senior project that they did for high school or college. And it's they're taking video of hobby people talking, dealers, customers, and it's the same exact conversations. All these kids are coming in here for Don Mattingly rookie cards. They don't care about Mickey Mantle, Mickey Mantle cards. And you think back and you're like, oh my God, if these people had just bought Mantles back then, But those are the same types of conversations. Same deal. All right, where was I? DC cards are the next NASCAR. That's right. I know NASCAR. Everyone's like, oh, NASCAR is going to the moon. Hey, if Jeff Wilson can talk about NASCAR and it still doesn't go anywhere, that just tells you even the power of the large channels and stuff. It doesn't matter. Like nothing can move NASCAR. But honestly, it's NASCAR is where, and I bought NASCAR because it's the only brand where I can get national treasures without breaking the bank. I can get nice autos, nice patches, race worn and all that stuff. And they're great looking cards at great prices. So yeah, DC cards, interesting. Oh, by the way, Cards and Comics really like some of your recent videos. Check out his channel, Cards and Comics, a lot of good kind of introspective stuff, but just talking about hobby things and all sorts of different stuff. So definitely check out his channel. Along with Michael Ham, fishing and sports card hobbyist, and then Ryan McClanahan also has a channel as well. The history of sports cards, I believe, is what it is. Shortcut. I hope I'm saying that right. What people miss in this convo is baseball is very statistics-based. PEDs give an advantage that ruins that aspect of the sport fandom. Plus, baseball tries to be very family-friendly, so no PEDs. That's fair enough, Mike, and I appreciate that. And look, this is a non-baseball person talking about baseball cards, and baseball. So I'm just an outsider looking in at it. But I understand what you mean. And there are very good debates between which players are better than the other players and which teams were better. And you're right. There's a lot of statistics involved with baseball watching and then also collecting. And so I totally get that. And you're right. There's a family element of you're taking your kids to the ballpark and you're having, hot dogs and sodas and you're watching the game. So I get all that. If you're a Florida fan, where's the love for Kyle Trask? He has an amazing story, and I'm kind of a lame-o recent Florida Gator football fan because they just haven't been relevant, and so I was big into it back then. So I guess maybe I'm kind of somewhat of a fair weather fan in the sense that I followed them for a long time during the Spurrier years, and then after I watched, of course, the Tebow years. But then I would say kind of after Tebow I would say the last decade trailed off some. I'm not a guy that's like looking to see if they had a good recruiting class and stuff. I'd love to cheer for them again, obviously, but just less and less of a college football fan. If I'm pulling for a college football team and it's, Florida versus Florida State or Florida against whoever, I'm pulling for Florida. Yes, you definitely were. You definitely were. Yeah, I don't want to hear anything from Boston fans about anything for the rest of time. Between the Bruins and the Patriots and the Celtics and everything, just don't talk about it. You've had it good. It's probably the best 20 years of sports ever, for a city. Are there only 2 glasses of wine in a wine bottle? Oh, there you go, Mike Ham. There you go. Not enough wine in the world. You nailed it. Martin played at Kansas State. I don't know who we're talking about there. Karate chop the like button. I need to bring back the Kung Fu NES clip and throw that into my next video. Trask, a note for the NFL, needs to change his throwing motion and get some zip. I feel like if you have to change your throwing motion and get some zip, then you're probably not going to make it. Okay, Zap Patriots QB pick. It's the misses. Stockton small town market. Oh, you mean on the phone? Yeah. Stockton small town market, 0 titles, and he has a star rookie card, which is much better. Man, those star rookie cards are sweet. The one thing, the photography on those is great. The bordering, I like the star cards a lot. It's too bad that they kind of have the story behind the star cards. As far as they turn the printer back on. Some are fake. Some are not. It's like that makes it a little tougher. Yeah, that was Brad calling in. Minshew over Winston. Hobby Champs and I talked about this on Twitter today. Oh, if you're not connected with me on Twitter, the Sports Card Dad on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not. So, and my opinion was Minshew started 27 games. Jameis has started 77 games. So we just don't have enough of in my opinion, Gardner Minshew, we don't have enough of a sampling size to know if he is any good or not. It's just not, he's been kind of up and down, hit or miss. And you could blame that on the teams he's on and everything. And very, look, I feel like there's a lot of these guys in the NFL that are Gardner Minshews that are good players that may or may not get opportunities to start. They might not get enough time. Troy Aikman in Dallas didn't win for 2 years and then finally got on board. He had, finally got a team. Look, they drafted really well. They got Emmitt Smith. They got the line. They got everybody, and that's when they started winning. These QBs, it's just hard to make comparisons. I hope Celtics can readjust and get past the Bucks. Yeah, it's going to be it is going to be a battle, Celtics Bucks. I do too. I hope that they beat the Bucks. Not because I dislike the Bucks, but they won last year. I'd like to see the Celtics win this year. That'd be really cool. Stockton PSA 10 for $5.99. Make sure eBay sends it to PSA first to authenticate the slab. Right. I mean, it does seem a little low. I would agree. NBA should bring back Tom. So this is the ref that was the cheating ref, right? The betting ref or whatever for the playoffs. That would add a wrinkle, wouldn't it? Okay, it's an older slab. We're talking about the Stockton rookie. Doesn't have picture. Okay, just got a 10 as a pop win. Yeah, I don't know. King Sam, to you. Not sure what that was about. Bill Russell equals the Billy Goat. Fair enough. I see what you did there. Current players have more value due to being able to play actively in the space. Someone swoop has done it, has no current impact in the hobby. That's fair enough. And there's also kind of a sports betting excitement, hype thing going, of course, as well with the, with the current players. And that's all part of the fun. That's all part of the fun. And that's why you do see premium for guys that are playing right now. Go Bears. Okay. What's up, Raul? Good to see you. AIH Sports, check out his channel. He's got some good kind of big picture finance stuff wrapped into cards. Good channel. AIH Sports, definitely check out Raul's stuff. All right, guys, I got to wrap it, and there's more comments that keep coming through. So I'm going to do this kind of rapid fire, and then I'm going to say goodnight. I wish I had the money to buy something from Bill Russell's personal collection that has come. Oh, yeah, seriously. Shaq is buying all 11 of his championship rings. That would be so sweet. Cardboard Dreams. That's it. Look up Cardboard Dreams It's on YouTube. It's right there, but watch it. It's a time capsule. And it'll just take you back to 1990, and it's hilarious the conversations that they're having, and it just shows you that yes, a lot of things change, and then sometimes nothing changes at all. I've done a complete 180 about PDs. A player never served a suspension. There's no proof. If they have, then they have paid their due. Put them all in the Hall. Honestly, the whole Barry Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame thing is just stupid to me. And I know you're going to say, like, you're not a baseball guy. You don't get it, blah, blah, blah. And fine. That's fine. I just don't understand. I don't get that. I don't get it. I think he is good enough. You're talking an all-time player, top, again, not a baseball guy, but I assume Barry Bonds from a stat standpoint and just overall skill is a top 10 baseball player of all time. I know I'm probably going to get absolutely destroyed in the chat comments. But come on, like the guy was incredible. He was great before PEDs, let alone when he was on them. So, all right. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Yeah, the Broncos, hey, Russell Wilson, look out. They could be very good. They just play in a very tough division. This is how ridiculous hobby could be. Jerry Rice rookie sells for the same as, Brandon. How do you say the last name? Ayuk. It's the 49ers receiver. I know who he is. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that sentiment. I enjoyed watching Ham at the Butcher. Very apt. Fruits and vegetables are performance-enhancing foods. Fair. Your top two favorite players, Dustin and mine, are Elway and Griffey Jr. Okay, so you're talking about all-time players. Somewhat boring. I mean, growing up, Michael Jordan was he was bigger than life. If you're bringing it down to two players, I have got to say Michael Jordan and Drew Brees, because Drew Brees really kind of changed Saints football forever with Sean Payton. And then, I would have to say Jordan, just growing up. He was bigger than life. I just hopped in here, but where you get drafted and what weapons you have on your team and coaches dictates a lot of player success. Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about football, we're talking about the all-time. I mean, it's the ultimate team sport. Teams win football championships, whereas in the NBA, one player can do it all. In football, it just doesn't work like that. So many things have to go right. And again, another reason why I just don't think the Tom Brady thing ever gets duplicated again. I just don't think it will, because so much had to go right for Tom Brady to get 7 rings. And who knows, maybe an 8th at some point. Hey, Crazy Kev, great doing business with you on Thursday night. I hope the trade works out for both of us. Go Skins. Washington. Oh, yeah, I know. God, when I saw the trade up, it was like, please don't be taking a quarterback with this pick. I was really happy that it was a receiver, especially considering now, receiver A.J. Brown strictly went to the Eagles because the Titans didn't want to pay him $25 million a year, because that's what receivers make now. And then they ended up drafting a receiver. But that's the game you're going to play in the NFL with the salary cap with a lot of these guys, whether it be QBs, receivers. That's just eating up all your cap. Got drafted by Packers and they were about to go with Rodgers and got rid of Favre, so he had no shot to start. I'm not sure which player we're talking about here. Then when he got traded to the Bills, they were a disaster and he had no help and just faded away. Oh, I'm trying to remember which QB this was. When they drafted Rodgers and got rid of Favre, which other one are we talking about here? The greatest fan sign I've ever seen involved Morton Anderson after he missed. It's something about what was Morton snorting. I've never seen that one. That's funny. Off topic, Paul, is it okay to shoot Wolverines? I think Paul is actually Bear Grylls. Have a good evening, Brian. Thank you very much for joining and hanging out with me. I'm on about 30 minutes longer than I thought it was going to be. So again, all right, I'm almost to the end. I'm going to run through Bonds, Clemens, A-Rod. Agreed. All 3 of those players. Roger Clemens, completely dominant. And look, there's probably a lot of guys too that we never even knew that took them, that didn't get caught. Bonds is a top 3, 5 player all time. He just is. I mean, I said top 10, top 15 just to try to be nice, but I mean, come on. Bonds is solid number 2 behind Mays. Okay. Bonds, but was he though? Barry Bonds was, I'm not an expert on it. I've never taken anything like that, but I mean, like Mark McGuire was a massive dude. Barry Bonds was big, but Barry Bonds was not, I don't know. How much was he taking? I have no idea. I guess none of us do. Bonds was ridiculous. Yep. Was lucky enough to work. And another thing about Barry Bonds is they used to walk him every single at bat. They never pitched to the guy, and he had a zillion home runs in his career. They walked. Think about all the walks. Think about if they actually pitched to him. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it there. Was lucky enough to work in early 2000 for the Giants and see Bonds set those records at home. That's really, really cool. Brian Brome. Oh, okay. I got you. The QB. All right. My bad. Yeah, I missed that part. Yo, Dr. Monopoly, good to see you. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Brian Brome from Louisville. I remember him. But think about it. I remember him coming out, and there was all this, there was a lot of excitement about him, and then just kind of fades away. And there's a lot of guys like that. Troy, you are the man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Great content last week. Appreciate your consistent work for YouTube. I've been slacking a little bit lately. It's been a wild time, but I really appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. I can't believe we just went for 90 minutes. It flew by. So thank you very, very much. Guys, have an amazing rest of your night. Hold on. I'm almost done. What PSA grading is Brad spray tan? It's definitely a 3 or 4. No kidding. I think Brad probably came out of the womb tan. So he was fortunate. All right. Brian Brome was the QB. Good night, Phoenix Rising. All right, Philip. Thank you, guys. Have an amazing rest of your night. I'll talk to you later. Take care.